Hello, I'm Kym Robertson. I'm host of Senior Living in Alexandria. This is a monthly program put on by Senior Services of Alexandria for the benefit not only of seniors, but family, friends, caregivers, service providers, those in the Alexandria community and beyond that are interested in things that relate to seniors. We have a special program today. This is in anticipation of our typical speaker series in March, which will be Technology for Seniors. That'll be on March 19th. And to get ready for that, we've got a conversation today with two eminent speakers. We've got Kym Robertson with the Alexandria Public Library and Cara Sonnier, also at the Alexandria Public Library. They have two different but related jobs, and they'll also appear on the panel on the 19th. So Cara does digital services, and Kym is in charge of talking books.
That's me.
So we're here to learn a little bit about that, but also to prepare for this session. To get started, Cara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about digital services?
Sure.
Please.
I'm the Digital Services Librarian for the Alexandria Library. I'm based at the Beatley branch, but I do travel to all the other branches. I'm basically in charge of anything that you can't physically check out of the library. So when you think of library, you might think of books or movies or CDs, but digital services encompasses all of that outside of the library. So like ebooks, e-audiobooks, streaming music, streaming videos, website services, and that kind of thing. And part of my job is also to help enhance the digital literacy skills of Alexandriates by teaching computer and technology classes as well.
How did you wind up at the library? How did you prepare for this, this vast number of things that you're responsible for?
Actually, librarianship is a second career for me. I started in the world actually in computer science and physics, and then I became
I see the connection.
Yeah, and then I became a web developer and designer, so I took all of that information that I did on a commercial level and decided to use it as a public servant at the library. So
you solved all the computer issues that there were and
I
got
wish.
bored and decided to go into
wish.
service. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kym, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into us, and then tell us about talking books.
Okay. I am a librarian. I started working in libraries as a non-librarian. Went away, came back, and had my degree in hand. I always wanted to work in a public library, and this is just a special population to serve. Talking Books is mostly audio, but also offers some Braille services for folks with print disabilities. So that's not just people who don't see well. It's also folks who have difficulty holding or turning the pages of a book, or for various reasons, organic reasons, visual information isn't processed properly. My collection, ta-da, is digital, so this is actually a book. And we have equipment that we do long-term loans with as well.
So if I go to the library, I could walk out with a device?
You'd have to fill out an application.
Well, of course. Yes. Probably leave my
But
wristwatch.
Yes, I could hook you up with an application. Assuming you have a visual disability, I could certify the application, say that you are eligible for service, and we could do same day you leave with books and a machine.
Okay. So, and you're also at Beatley?
I am also at Beatley. I am the only public service point on the second floor of the library.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So tell me, okay, so let's understand, how big is the population for each of your services? Are there vast numbers of people? Is it fairly specialized? Is it narrowly defined? How would you define your audience? Large, small, big?
Cara's audience is going to be
Go
bigger
ahead.
than my audience.
About 65% of all of Alexandria Library cardholders use some type of digital service, whether it's an ebook or they're downloading music or watching movies. So that's a pretty big population.
65% of all library users?
All library users. Everybody, cardholders, people who have a library card. Yeah. So that entails, adults, but also has children, teens, students.
What's their level of skill? Are they all equally up to the skills that are needed to properly use digital services?
We have a wide variety. We have tech experts, and then we have people who need introduction and a little hand holding and little one-on-one. So
How do you do hand holding and one-on-one?
As the digital service librarian, I offer 30 minutes of one-on-one for people. They just have to make an appointment and come to the library,
Okay.
bring the device that they're experiencing issues with and say, please help. And I'll sit with them and work out what they're trying to do and give them some tips and ideas on how to accomplish that goal.
Do you have equipment and could it run a group class?
Sometimes we do, yes. So
Really?
I do offer the basic library digital services 101. So if you don't know what the library offers digitally, you can come and take the class and learn about all the services that we have. And then we can go device specific. Yeah.
Okay. Kym, how would you define your audience? How large, small?
Yeah, my clientele is much more specialized. So if you figure the city of Alexandria has maybe 150,000 people in it, and the number of folks with qualifying disabilities would be in the range of 1% of that
Okay.
entire population. There aren't going to be, thank heavens, as many people who need my service. On my current enrollment, I think I've got roughly 200 people.
Okay.
So I do go out a fair bit, hoping to let people know that I exist, to make sure everybody who is eligible for the service is aware that we exist and can sign up for it.
Do they find you, or you mentioned you go out to them?
A little of both.
How do people become aware of this? Do
My-
family members know about it?
I will talk to anybody who knows anybody,
Okay,
because
okay.
most of my outreach isn't so much to people who would use the service themselves as it is to people who know people who might benefit from the service. The parent organization, all of my equipment and materials come from the Library of Congress National Library
Oh, okay.
Service. They have been buying national airtime, both on TV and on radio, so that there's been a real marketing push. I haven't seen huge response from that, but that doesn't mean that people aren't hearing about it that way. I get really good word of mouth. So if I have an existing user and they're happy with the service, the people they know hear about me, and they're more likely to find out.
And tell me again what the conditions are that you mentioned blindness. What other?
Low vision is a qualifier. You don't have to be blind.
I'm sorry.
If you have a hard time with large print, that would be qualifying. Arthritis, things that require fine manual dexterity you don't have anymore, or strength that you no longer have to manipulate a book, and dyslexia, other reading disabilities would often qualify. Although for that you need to actually get a medical doctor to sign the form.
Okay.
Everything else, the last bastion of excess is me. A librarian can sign the form. That would be me.
Okay. We're going to have to go to a break for a few minutes, but we'll be back. And when we do, I want to dig a little bit deeper into how each of your programs relate to seniors, the topic of the day. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Well, here we are once again, and we've got another cooking treat for you. The famous Madison Reeder is here with me once again this month, and she's got just another spectacular recipe. It's not just good, but healthy and nutritious, and it's something easy and simple you can make. So what are we going to do this time?
So this one is one of my all-time favorites that I've made. This is cheesecake brownies with a little bit of a healthy twist.
Cheesecake brownies, healthy twist.
Yes.
What could go wrong?
That's right.
Let's do it.
So we're going to start off simple, and we'll add our nutrition components afterwards. So we're going to start with a brownie mix. Like a traditional cheesecake brownie that you see at the store, you can buy the entire package that has everything, the cheesecake and the brownie component all in one. A lot of times there's not a lot of nutrition in that. So what we're going to do our brownie mix separate than our cheesecake mix, and our cheesecake will actually have some protein in it, so a little bit different.
So, and this sort of size, I mean, is that part of the
So this is a standard
standard size?
standard size brownie mix. I'm using a gluten-free one here just to show that you can use a gluten-free brownie mix. And what I sort of do to make it more flavorful, more tasty for you. So recipe calls for, on the back of the package, just 1 egg and some butter. What I always do if I'm using a gluten-free mix is I add an extra egg. always. It makes it more moist, a little bit more dense, gives it more of almost like a cakey type of brownie. Sometimes gluten-free items can get rather dry, so I always add an extra egg. So I really disregard my package instructions for these. So I'm doubling our recipe today for double brownies. So we'll add our 2, just like you would a box mix of brownies, and you can use not gluten-free, it doesn't matter regardless.
And I noticed you had 4 eggs in there.
And I have 4 eggs. So
Okay.
recipe calls just for 1 egg for each one, but we're gonna do 2 for each one, so 4 eggs. So I'll put half of it in, give it a
little bit
mix.
of extra protein counter.
That's right, that's right. What an egg really does to a recipe is it acts as an emulsifier. So it really helps to bind everything together. When you have a gluten-free recipe, you need even more binding power because you're missing the protein in your flour from the gluten. You're missing that, so it doesn't act as well as a binder. So by adding extra egg, it can help with that. So I'm going to keep turning that over, stirring that.
You want me to do that?
Sure, and I'm going to add this one in kind of little by little. Not that I have to, but just to make it a little bit easier. All right. Next thing we're going to add is butter. Looks like a lot, but we're making a double recipe here. And just remember, it looks like a lot, but you're not eating the whole pan. Well, maybe you are. Maybe Jim is, I don't know. But shouldn't be eating the whole pan all in one sitting. So we've got half a stick for each one, stick of butter for the whole thing.
And melted.
So, melted, yes. So I'm going to add that in and give that a nice mix. And that's really it for the brownie portion. Once that's all nice and mixed, we will spread it evenly in the bottom of our pan, but we want to make sure we leave about 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of that mixture because we're going to do something special with it towards the end so that it gives it a nice pretty appearance on the top. Got a little bit more brownie mix to add for you there once you're all good to go. And then we'll divide and conquer for this second part of the recipe. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Got to get it to blend a little better.
I know, it is tough. And something you can do, and the reason we didn't do it today is because I wanted to show that you can use something that's not a hand mixer. You can use a hand mixer, a KitchenAid, anything that you readily have available to you, you're welcome to use for a recipe like this.
I can be replaced by a hand mixer?
You could be replaced by
All
a hand
right,
mixer,
there
but
you
you
go.
know, I'm trying to work your Betty Crocker muscle today, Jim.
You're,
I really am.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. So the next part of this, so we've got the brownie part that Jim is mixing. The next part we're going to work on is our cheesecake portion. Do you want me to take over for a second while I talk through the cheesecake?
I can keep doing if you want to do
Yeah,
that. I'll
let's do
just
it.
keep going here and listen to you.
Sure. So we're going to start for our cheesecake mixture with 2 eggs. Again, we're doubling this recipe because I usually double my recipe when I make brownies. And we're going to do just about a cup of sugar. This is a cane sugar, but you can use any granulated type of sugar. Add that to your mix. I'll add it little by little, and then I will just mix it. Again, you can use a hand mixer, but I will just mix it with my rubber scraper here. You always want to add the sugar to the eggs first before you add the other ingredients. Then I will add a little bit more, kind of multitask. And a little bit more. And you see the consistency
yeah.
changes when you add the sugar to your eggs.
I'll give you a report on this. It's getting there.
You're doing very well.
Well, thank you. That's why it can be replaced by a hand mixer.
Sometimes we have to put you to work, right?
That's right.
That's right. So we'll add our sugar to our eggs. The next thing we're going to add is our cream cheese to make it a cheesecake. So this is a different type of cream cheese. This is actually a tofu-based cream cheese, so it's vegan.
Oh.
What's unique about this is it's made from tofu, which is soy, and adds some extra protein to your cheesecake. When you bake it in the oven, what's wonderful about it is it still contains some of that protein. So this is actually a more filling brownie than it otherwise would be. And once it's in the oven and it has the sugar and the egg added to it, you can't tell that it's different. So I'm going to add that in, about 16 ounces of this into our
2 cartons because you're doubling the recipe.
That's correct.
Got it.
That's correct. We'll add that in. And then we'll add the second one in. And you're going to want to mix this, if you can, with a hand mixer. It makes it a lot easier. And you want it to get real thick and creamy.
Okay.
So add this one first. I'll start to mix it just so you can see what the consistency looks like. If you can see in here with that egg and that sugar, it looks just like a traditional Philadelphia cream cheese or a cream cheese that you could buy at the store.
Yeah.
Now people ask me with this recipe, can I use a regular cream cheese? Absolutely, you can. You can definitely use a regular cream cheese, but then you get more calories with that and you don't get the nutrition benefit of using this. So mix that in really well. Then we'll add our second carton. So now what we're going to do with this mixture you have here, Jim, can you put almost all of it in the bottom of that pan?
This.
Just scoop it in. Yep. Doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Just scooped in.
Did we spray this pan?
We did spray the pan, so always make sure that your pan is safe to be sprayed with a PAM or a baking spray. You can also put some butter in the bottom of the pan if you'd like as well. But whatever is most easy and convenient for you. You can also use a disposable pan if the dishes are overwhelming for you. I know I'll do that when I have a lot of company over. Perfect.
I'm not going to put all of that in there, but it'll just demonstrate how to do it.
Perfect. And then you'll spread out, and you want to leave a little bit left. So Jim actually did a wonderful job of leaving some. So once your cream cheese mixture is all well mixed together, and you'll tell it'll look like a whipped cream cheese, you will have spread this all across the bottom, and then you will add your cream cheese mixture to the top in droplets, and add what is left of your chocolate mixture in droplets to that. So you can see even with this here, it's much doughier than a traditional brownie mixture because it is that gluten-free consistency. That looks perfect, Jim.
Slowly getting there. You wanted to...
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So again,
there we go.
mixing it on the bottom, adding this in droplets, and then adding the chocolate in droplets on top, taking a fork and kind of gliding the fork along the top so that gives it a nice design. Once that's ready, you're going to put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. For me, I've always found that it has to bake a little bit longer with the vegan cream cheese on the top. But after about 45 minutes, if you stick a toothpick or a fork in the middle, you'll be able to tell if it's done. And it comes out looking like this.
Those look good.
Thank you. Would you like to give them a try?
I think so. What do you
I
think?
think you would. Absolutely. They are such a delightful brownie. They're great to bring, and it's wonderful to have them if you have somebody who is gluten-free or they're vegan or they can't have certain animal proteins. This is a great option for them that's still just as delicious and nutritious.
I can talk now. Those are very good.
Thank you.
They're delicious.
Well, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany Wilson with Aetna Better Health of Virginia. We know how important it is for our seniors to take care of their health. It truly affects your well-being and your life, and that's why we are proud to offer additional benefits for the dental program. Part of our additional benefits includes your exams, your cleanings, your x-rays, extractions, root canals, fillings, and more. Our clinicians will be speaking with you in regards to how important it is to keep up with your dental hygiene.
we're back, and we're specializing today in library service, specialized library services, and introduce again, Cara Sonnier is with Digital Services, and Kym Robertson is with Talking Books, both with the Beatley branch of the Alexandria Public Library, and both on the panel of our speaker series March 19th. And we previously talked about some of their services and how they conduct their business and so forth, but now we want to focus a little bit on seniors. So, Cara, tell us a little bit how digital services relate to seniors. What's special about them? What are their needs? What special provisions have you made? I'm assuming there are some.
Sure. The seniors, like everyone else, use the library for a wide variety of reasons. Sometimes it's pure entertainment for reading and that kind of thing. So sometimes seniors are of a group where they maybe use technology in a job, but it's been a while since they retired, so they're not quite familiar with all things. So some of the things that I do is teach classes on how to access these services with devices that they have, and focus on specific needs that they might have. How to make print larger on their device, that for example, or to use the audiobooks for if they don't want to read, they just want to listen to a book. I have a wide variety of types of students in my class. Sometimes they're very tech savvy and they're teaching me things too, so that's a good thing. And like I said, a lot of times if I find a person who needs a little extra help, I always offer that one-on-one with them to say, hey, let's see if we can find some time to sit down together and do that. But they use library services for everything, reading and listening to music, but also we offer online courses. So they're taking classes and learning things, maybe how to watercolor, or to take CPR classes, or learning like human physiology and anatomy and that kind of thing. A lot of the classes that I teach are how to use tech in your life. So I've taught classes to seniors about how to use travel tech, technology and apps and websites to plan trips, how to discern good information from bad information when you're looking up health information for a specific disease or a condition. Also, how not to get scammed online, how to do online banking and use, payment apps and that kind of thing to keep up with the times. So we cover a wide variety of topics.
That's a very, very large menu. How do you decide what's on the menu, and do you conduct those sessions yourself, or do you bring in, people that might have a more deeper knowledge of it?
I do a lot of the sessions, I'd say about 90% of them myself. A lot of times we have webinars that we host in the library, and other people will be a speaker or be live through video feed, conducting the class. I find topics from previous students. So I hear a lot of people say, I'd like to learn this or I'd like to learn that, and then I find information about that and then produce the class.
Do you ever draw on your physics background for a topic?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Kym, tell us about Talking Books. What needs for seniors, and how have you prepared for those?
My clientele tends to skew older. I have a lot of patrons who are losing their sight late in life thanks to macular degeneration or other degenerative diseases of the eye. It's a little bit late for them to learn Braille, so audio is a great way for them to continue reading without having to worry about losing that connection to a life of the mind. As far as what it is they need that's specific to seniors, my collection is basically a public library collection, so it's more to do with entertainment than anything else. I try to make sure that they realize it doesn't all have to be specifically for them. If your grandchildren are coming to visit, say, I have books in my collection for that. So you can have Splat the Cat if you want to read Splat the Cat with your grandchildren. A lot of my collection also is geared for folks who have various low vision conditions. So if you wanted to do research, you have some available books on that topic, more so than probably in the regular library collection. But just because you're older doesn't mean that everything you do is what all other old people do. A lot of my work has to do with making sure people can get what they want.
If you could identify an unmet need, if you had unlimited resources, money wasn't an issue, whatever, that a senior population could use of your services, is there anything that comes to mind?
Okay.
Oh, my services
A
are
wish list.
a wish list. I wish I had more time to actually make bibliographies so that if someone expressed an interest in something, I could hook them up with other stuff. Frankly, I do that on the fly. If you ask me for this and you've read all of those, then here, I'm helping you out with that. I also do a fair amount of referral for folks who aren't missing reading books as much as they are more ephemeral media. I don't offer newspapers, but that doesn't mean that if you're eligible for my service, I can't hook you up with people who do.
Okay.
So that if that's what you're really missing, your cup of coffee and a newspaper, I can hook you up with the Metropolitan Washington Ear. They read the Post every day.
So you're a provider out of your own well of knowledge, but also a broker for others in terms of bringing that to their attention.
Yeah, I can
That's the
save
way it
them a
works.
certification signature.
Okay.
If you're getting services from me, that means that you can skip a step in signing
Sarah,
up for services from
what
others.
in terms of digital services, what could you use or might need that would help seniors?
I would think I've had a lot of interest in seniors in my class wanting to share their history with future generations.
Oh, the genealogy?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be
history,
so
or
much
both?
digital services, but more technology. If I could, and I had the budget for, I would bring as many technical objects as I possibly could for them to be able to use in that capacity, to scan, old marriage licenses or photos, or to record their oral history about how they met their spouse, and to record those histories for their kids and grandkids. So
Would that would mean they would come to the library to do that?
Exactly, yeah.
And that would be an additional new service
Yes.
of personal histories.
it would be like I'd envision like a soundproof room where they could come and talk and do those kind of things, or work their way through old photo albums or something like that, and have that opportunity to work with it.
What's the library offer by way of genealogy services?
So we have genealogy services with our local history and special collections. It's at the Barrett branch in Old Town. They have lots of Virginia and Alexandria resources, Civil War, that kind of thing. But we also offer ancestry, access to Ancestry and Heritage Quest, and Washington Post newspapers for people looking to dig up
Do you find
ancestors.
that's common among seniors, or is that everybody's interested in their family history?
I think the older you get, the more interested you are in history. So it seems to be the older customers that I serve have a deeper interest in that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like you've got robust offerings for seniors, but it's for the general population. And I'm always amazed when you encounter a library. It's so changed from 10, 20, 30 years ago that library is really not, it's a good term because everybody understands it, but it's really, you're an information center and of all forms. And that people need to understand that's how it works. Well, thank you for coming in today. We're running out of time, but I urge people to be sure and come to the panel session, the speaker series, March 19th, and they'll, I'm sure, have more questions and you'll have more answers. So appreciate it very much. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you for
much.
having
Thank you
us.
for having us.